This video is just going to continue with solving some of the exercises or working on some of the exercises that I posted on the site. So if I go into, this is the launched binder, launched from here, in man-made code, launch the binder, and I open in a new tab here. And the next one is write a procedure that increments a float or integer by 1 and returns that incremented value. So it could be, this is the function signature, and we need to implement that. So if I just copy that over and I go into my environment and paste it in there, now once again, if I run this, nothing happens, right? It just takes in a single argument, and then it's supposed to return this argument incremented by 1. So in this case, 1 goes to 2, negative 1 goes to 0, 22 goes to 23. Pretty simple. So if we, this is about as easy as it gets. All we do is say return, I take x, and I increment it by 1. And that x could be, that could be a float, or it could be an integer. And that's pretty much it. And just to test that out, I'll copy this, and I will put it, I will substitute the pass, and I'm going to run this code block. By the way, if you have trouble, and this is blank over here, this Python, the IPY kernel is, doesn't say Python 3 in here. You may just have to select a kernel. You click on it, and it'll say, what do you want to select? You just have to make sure that kernel's running. Sometimes if you've left the page open for a while and you haven't used it, that will happen. Now let's see here. If I just run this cell right here, so I'm going to run this cell, go up here, run it. Okay, now remember, if it works, nothing will happen here. We'll come out of this cell here with the assertion, and it works. Okay, and just to test that out, if I did this and I ran that cell again and I went like that, I got an assertion error. The assert is wrong. So I'm going to return that to that, run it, and there you go. So that's that one. Now, let's get rid of that. And the next one is write a procedure that returns the very last character of a string. Okay, so this is the definition here, or the signature, they call it right up here. Def get last char, and it takes in any string. And here the testing is my returns y, a, b, c, d, e, f, g, and then h is the last, returns h, and then the characters 3 would be the last one. So that's pretty easy as well, right? How do you do that? Well, if I take that, and I think I pasted it right. Well, remember, let's go back here. Let's take a look at slicing again. So let's say I have a string, and I'll just call it a string like it does in there, and I'll say when it rains, it pours, right? So that's my string. When it rains, it pours. Now, if I want the last character, right, I could count it. I could say, well, there's 0. I want that index value, the last one, 0, 1, 2, 3, and that's a mug's game. You don't have to count it. You just say a string, and you're going to slice it, and you're going to say -1. How do we know it's -1? Well, if I go back to here, if I go in here, number strings, and I think it's in here. But remember this little diagram I give you. If the string is string, you could count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from the front, and you get the fifth. Or just -1. -1 gives you the last character. So here I get s, and that happens to be s, right? It's the last character in the string just by putting in -1 because it starts to count backwards. So if I'm writing a procedure that does that, I just return a string, the argument, -1, and that's it. And I can test it in this environment, like you can do it in Replit. You can write your own REPL, put these in, and test them out just by playing around with it. When you go back into this, let me get this there, and I go into here, and I replace pass with that. And if I run that and then that, it works. It's as simple as that. Okay. Now, according to Newton's, this is second from last one, penultimate one. According to Newton's second law of motion, force can be expressed as a product of mass and acceleration of the body. Write a procedure that, given the mass and acceleration object, returns the force. Well, how hard can this be, right? I mean, this is basically just you return mass times acceleration. I wish there was autocomplete here. There is. Right? And if I ran that, and I ran that, it works. That's all you're doing. You're just returning mass times acceleration. Now you can put units at the end. You could return it as a string with, and it gives you the force units or whatever. But we're not going to get into that. Okay. And then the final one: write a procedure that takes in two strings, returns a string that is the first string, followed by 2 repetitions of the second string, followed by the first string. So, okay. So, well, let's copy this one because we'll look at this a little more closely. This is just concatenation. If I put this in here, right, what is this returning? And just think about it. If you have A, let's say A is cat, and B is equal to dog, right? Well, what do you want? If you have 2 and A here, it says 2A2. So it's just you basically bookending the first string, and then in between it, doubling the second string. So that's second string doubled, and then 2 on either side, right? So in other words, what we would return here is A plus B plus B plus A. Abba eyes. That's where that comes from, right there. So this is basically what you would return, right? And if let me get this back to here. If I printed that out, right? I'm going to print it out. I'm not in the function definition here. I don't need this right here. So let me comment this out so you're not confused, right? And if I ran this, right, gets cat, dog, dog, cat. It's as simple as that. It's just practicing concatenation. And if I just took this out and I said return that, got rid of this, right? Now nothing's going to happen here because I don't, but I take that and I plug it in here and then I run that, bing, bada, boom. So that's it.